Okay, so we have uh, rolled our dice, and we've decided what focus we're going to take. And so now I want to go over the elements of the intro, and then I will show you a sample intro that I've written. So in your intro, remember in the last video I talked about English lasagna, right? The layers that essay writing has layers to it. Just like as if you were making lasagna, you would put your noodles in. You need a layer of those. You need maybe a layer of the tomato sauce, a layer of cheese, etc. Right? You're going to do all your layers. Well, the same thing applies with essay writing. You need to hit your layers. You need uh, those layers in each paragraph. So that's what we're going to go over now. So for the intro, I hope you can see this. I think you can. So for the intro, here's what you really need for an argument paper. You need to, number one, explain the issue. Why do you need to explain the issue? Because your reader is not necessarily aware of the issue. They are not thinking of it as much as you are thinking of it. So you have been thinking about it because you've been writing about it. You've been, doing a brainstorm about it. You've been looking at different sides. They haven't. Just picture your reader as being like an intelligent person, a reasonably intelligent person who is skipping down the street. They're not thinking about this issue, right? So you have to explain the issue to them. Maybe, maybe they're older. Maybe it's been a while since they've been a teenager, right? Whatever it is, they just aren't thinking about this issue as much as you have been, right? So, or maybe they already have a point of view, but you're showing a different side, So you need to first of all explain the issue. Don't be assuming that they already know it. And even though in this case, in school, like in college, it's your professor that's the audience. Really, anyone that speaks English anywhere in the world should be able to read your paper and understand it. And so, if they don't understand the issue because you haven't explained it to them, that's a major problem. So you want to explain the issue, number one, so they get it. How long does that take to explain the issue? Usually 2 to 3 sentences, okay? So, and this is approximate. This isn't math, so could it be 4 sentences? Sure. But this gives you a guideline. So next, you need to explain the controversy. Explain the controversy. This is an argument paper, so you've got to explain that why do people disagree about this issue? That's what I mean by the controversy. Both sides. You need to explain both sides. So why would anyone disagree with where you're coming from? You kind of just want to explain both sides kind of neutrally at this point. You're not really arguing against them yet. You're just presenting both sides so that the reader understands why people would disagree, right? So you're just going to explain the controversy, somewhere between 1 and 3 sentences for that, I would say. And then you want to transition to your thesis, meaning you start explaining the thesis before you get there. So it's not just that you've given the issue and reported on what the controversy is, both sides, and then then you're just right into the thesis, and the reader's like, whoa, how do we get there? I had no idea this was coming up. So you don't want to do that to them. You are smoothly leading them all the way. So as if you were if the reader was at your driveway and you needed them to get to the front door, right? You want to guide them. You want to take their hand and lead them to your door. I know we can't do that with COVID. We can't take people's hands right now, but think pre or post. So you want to guide them, take them by the hand and guide them to your front door. You don't want it to be like, there they are at the driveway, and you get like some pogo stick and they're jumping to the door, right? No. So that's just like very jarring and confusing to your reader. You're guiding them. So in order to guide them, you have to transition to the thesis. You have to explain where you are coming from before you get to the thesis. You're kind of guiding them. You're starting to what I call steer the car in that direction. Okay, that takes about 1 to 2 sentences. I mean, there could be occasions it takes 3, but it's approximate. And then your thesis is 1 sentence. So again, these are your layers for your introduction. You've got to explain the issue. Give them an overview of the issue. Number 2, you need to explain the controversy. Why do people disagree about this? Explain briefly, both sides, 1 to 3 sentences. Transition to the thesis. Guide them to your thesis. Start explaining and heading things in that direction before the thesis. And then you need your thesis statement, which is 1 sentence. So I have written a sample intro, and again, this is organic, and I love doing this organically because I like kind of showing you what it's like just to start writing an intro, given the after we've been thinking about it and discussing it and everything like that. So it's not perfect, it's organic, and that's what this is like, so so I wrote it based on what we rolled our dice for, that point of view. Before I show that, I did want to also emphasize that we rolled the dice and took the moderate point of view. Even in a moderate point of view, you can go just straight forward, middle of the road moderate, or you can lean one way or the other. You can be moderate, but lean toward being, more strict with more control, less privacy, less freedom, or you could be moderate, leaning with more freedom. You can take one of those pathways too. I'm just kind of emphasizing that. All right, this is what I came up with. So if I can get my easel going the right direction here. All right, this is what I came up with. I'm going to move this up because I don't think you can see this unless I do. I really hope this is working out here. Oh, wow. I don't know if it is. So, okay, I think that's okay. All right, so this is what I came up with. I'm going to read over it, and then I'm going to try to break it down kind of layer by layer, section by section. All right, so it says, so I'll just read it through and then we'll do that. So it says, recently, parents, educators, and students have been debating about whether or not high school students should have supervision as they navigate through their communities. While some parents and teachers argue that teenagers should be supervised all or much of the time for safety and guidance, many teachers not the teachers. Many teenagers argue that they are responsible and should be allowed the freedom to explore the world without always being under the watchful eye of adults. In fact, while parents are naturally concerned about their children, in most cases, teenagers from 14 to 17